This is the middle of April. Today's April the 17th. And the clover and cereal rye is so much thicker from last year. The release process, it's awesome.
Wanted to share an update from Chris Berry, one of our friends in South Carolina. Now, Chris has had this property about 4 years. He invited us down soon after he'd purchased the property, and I gotta tell you, it was a gnarly red clay, just eroded, exposed red clay, and some timber that wasn't in that good a shape property, but it was Chris's dream farm, and I wanted to help him realize all the potential of that property. So we started out the program, how to address those eroded red clay fields and the timber, and Chris has been really good to share updates along the way. So come on along today and we'll see how that project is progressing.
Grant wanted me to send an update on what our clover is doing here on April the 17th. So here, the clover is as tall as my knees. And then here at the exclusion cage, there's a ruler here somewhere, but I can't see it. I mean, the cereal rye is as tall as I am in the middle of April. And the clover in here, hopefully you can see it. It's not quite to my waist, but it's definitely to my crotch, which is, and thick, way thick. This is awesome. And the clover and cereal rye is so much thicker and 3 weeks ahead of schedule off of last year. And all the cereal rye, I had to put these orange ribbons around the exclusion cages just to remember where they were. This is awesome. So here's an example of where the cereal rye is not as tall to give you a feel for how thick this clover is. It's not heading out yet, not quite yet. A few bare spots, but not many. For the most part, this is all covered. This is thick clover, and I love it.
You can tell Chris is really excited about the annual clover and green clover's fall release blend, and there's a good reason for that. A, it's high quality forage for critters, and he is seeing some nice critters anywhere, but certainly for South Carolina's point of view. And second, that clover is just pumping a lot of nitrogen into that harsh red clay soil. In fact, when you're going through this video, you'll see a lot of places where you can see the edge of the road or an inside trail next to a plot. It's important to understand that old field looked exactly like that road, just red clay, nothing of a hint of topsoil there, just hard packed red clay. And within a few inches into the plots, that's already changing. But the clover's played a big part of that because it's pumping nitrogen from the air into the soil and feeding the other crops. I think it's also important to point out right here when you're seeing these beautiful crops at Chris's places, he has not added any, I mean zero, synthetic fertilizer. I'm not cheating, I'm not going on the edge of the bush, so no turkey litter, no nothing. Chris has not added fertilizer. He has used seeds in the release process to achieve these results. +20 years ago, I went to New Zealand to learn more about their forage process because they grow a lot of deer in New Zealand for meat and for antlers and for other products. These are captive deer, but they're not in little pens like you might think of here. These are in large, what they call paddocks. And one of the biggest lessons they taught me to allow deer to express their full potential, their full genetic potential, they need high quality groceries year round. Well, this time of year is really important because fawns are either being born or the does in the last trimester, getting ready to produce a lot of milk, and those bucks are starting to grow antlers. And there's a tremendous nutrient drain on the body. You think about growing, 100, 150 inches of antler in a couple of months period of time. That requires a tremendous amount of nutrient inflow into that critter or producing a fawn and all the milk that doe produces throughout the summer until that fawn's weaned. So having an annual clover in that fall blend, it's gonna come on super strong early in the late winter, early spring, and provide high quality protein and lots of minerals to the deer during that stress period. Speaking of fawns, Chris sent us a video the other day. He was out working on the property and saw a fawn. That's a little bit early, but remember, fawn birth is like a lot of things in that natural system. It's on a bell-shaped curve, and it's probably one of the earlier fawns in the area, and it looks so healthy. It takes a lot of high-quality nutrition to have does producing that healthy of a fawn. Chris's deer herd has been expanding a lot. In fact, they harvested several does last year to maintain that balance between the number of deer and the amount of quality groceries available. I'm 6 foot tall, and when I've been with Chris, he's a little bit taller than me, so when you see him out in the fields or compared to his Jeep, we all know how tall a Jeep is, and look how tall this crop is. And remember, no lime, no fertilizer, nothing, no turkey litter, no, not cheating around the edge. Look at the tons produced per acre on what was really rough red clay soil.
So here I'm going to start kind of at the Jeep, and you can see how tall the cereal rye is. This is where Grant gave his longest presentation a year ago. So it's the middle of April now, and the exclusion cage was on the other end of this food plot. I should have left it there. So say the exclusion cage is 4 feet tall. Look at this stuff. You can sort of see, I put a ribbon on the top of the yardstick over there to give you a feel for how tall and thick this stuff is. There's clover in here. I mean, they didn't eat all the turnips, the radishes. So you can see when I see the smoke flying off, the dust. Grant can tell you what that means because I don't know. So the exclusion cage last year for Grant and Daniel was right in here somewhere. I'm gonna try to show you where it was. Somewhere right here feels about right. So when Grant and Daniel were here at the beginning of April, I don't remember what it was. It was not this thick. And you can clearly see behind me, all it does is get thicker and taller. This is year 3 of the release process. Already have green cover seed coming. We'll plant again here. We'll drill again in early May, probably the first week in May, whenever rain looks like it's coming. But I couldn't be happier. This is fantastic.
I remember staying in the same place last year. Actually, Daniel and I were down turkey hunting with Chris, and we showed this to you, and you can see the massive difference in growth. And as we are continuing to improve that soil, turning it from red clay to living, active soil, those crops are more and more productive. When I scroll through all this footage Chris shared, one of the most impressive things to me, and there's a lot of things very impressive about this project, is you almost don't see any weeds. Chris is going to be able to plant green and then crimp, and then he's done until this summer. When it's late summer, he's getting ready to plant his fall crop. So, man, what a big time savings for Chris, and feeding deer without using some tough chemicals on the land. We stay in touch with the people we help, and one of the biggest questions we've had this year is, can I plant yet? Can I plant yet? So recently we just produced a video about what is the dough stage to help everyone out there, whether we work with you or not, identify that so you can time your planting right. Chris was really wise to go to his property, physically touch, see, feel some of the seed heads on the cereal rye and the clover to make sure he could schedule planting at the right time.
Okay, so I was riding around talking to Grant on the phone, and I'm getting some of this stuff for Daniel, and there's a lot of this stuff flying around off the cereal rye. I don't know if you can see that or not. So Grant asks if it's in the dough stage yet, and I don't really know. So I come over here, I grab a few of these pieces, and I try to pinch them. I mean, when the seeds hit the ground here, you can hear them land. They're kind of hard, but there's no goo coming out yet. So I don't think I'm in the dough stage just yet. But this is another example. Look at this stuff. The release process. It's awesome.
As Chris noticed and actually called us, we talked about, Chris was in the pollen stage. He probably wasn't even in the late pollen stage yet, but he could start planting pretty soon because he's going to plant green. He's going to drill right through that standing crop, and by the time he gets that done, it'll take him a few days to do that. Those seeds are gaining maturity every single day, and it won't be long till he's ready to crimp. So it's going to take that new seed roughly about 7 days to germinate or so, and then another 7 days or so to get very tall. So he's got a couple-week window between when he does this and when he can crimp. Daniel and I noticed when looking at Chris's footage, this plot, the clover's a little thin in the middle, and that happens. Remember, this was really rough land. Some places are going to take a bit longer to heal than others. That's why it's so important to, get out of your UTV, or in Chris's case, get out of your Jeep, walk out there and really walk through the field. Don't just take one example and assume all the fields are the same. Know your land, know your property, and that's one of the best things you can do to be a better food plot farmer. Chris's food plots look really good from sky. It almost looks like a golf course layout because those plots are so green and so well defined and almost uniform because there's not a lot of weeds in there. But you notice there's a lot of timber hasn't been thinned. There's not much sunlight hitting the forest floor, and it's been hard to get timber moved in that part of South Carolina. But Chris was able to find a really good forester that was working with him and worked with a local mill. And that project has already started, and I can't wait to bring you an update about phase 2 of Chris's project, where we're doing some very good quality timber management that's leaning more towards the wildlife side than future timber production. Working with people like Chris all throughout the Whitetails range is one of the greatest things that Daniel and I get to do. They're almost always great people, fun projects, but every project is unique, and what we prescribe for Chris may or may not be exactly what you need to do on your property. Meeting those people and having good relationships is just a really fulfilling part of our career, in addition to helping people, raise better deer and more turkeys, whatever. But the most important relationship we can have is with our Creator. And I strongly encourage you daily to be quiet and purposely seek the Creator's will for your life. Thanks for watching Growing Deer.